Hi everyone, so we're going to look at this video tutorial that looks at using two cards interlaced to make a much bigger card. So this one here has got an acetate window. The topper has dropped back onto the second page and opens to reveal the center. So it gives you a lot more scope to add your designs too. The second one we've looked at is the same format, but instead of the aperture, we've made a pointed flap to go on the front. Okay, so there is another threefold card. And then we've used a similar technique. This time the two cards have been rotated and it gives you a barn door card. So this one opens up to reveal inside the barn with a nativity scene. Okay, and this one, again, another Christmassy one, but it's a barn door one that when it stands, it will stand as a box. Okay, so the top and bottom come in first, and then in comes the sides. So we're going to have a look at how those are made, but all they're requiring is two 6x6 cards, 15 centimetre square, and we've just interlaced them and stuck the backs together. Okay, so let's have a look at some more detail of how to do them. Right, the first card that we're going to do, you'll need two cards. It doesn't matter what size they are according to what topper you've got. I have a topper that's in three pieces. It's got an outer layer, an inner layer which has got an aperture, and it has a topper that fits inside. So that is what I'm going to use. For the front, I've also got some acetate, which I've salvaged from a gift box. So I always cut my pieces of acetate down so that they don't get damaged, and they go into my box and they get recycled. Okay, so we're going to look at this piece first. This is going to go on the front of my card, and it's going to be positioned centrally. So I've got a small border all the way around. The first thing I need to do with this one is I'm going to put a mark around the aperture. Okay, so let's open that one out. Craft knife. Always make sure your craft knives are sharp, particularly when you're doing the circles. Now, these are just snap-off blades. So if I take the end off, it's got this little slot, which makes a safe way of snapping off your blade. So put that back on, extend that, and now I've got a nice fresh blade to start with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've drawn this pencil line, and I'm just going to go to the outside of the pencil line, and I come forward a little way, move my paper around. I'm keeping my wrist in the same place and turning my paper. Okay, draw it towards you. As soon as you start to feel you need to twist your wrist, twist the paper and come forward. Okay, I now need to twist. And you'll feel when you get round to where you started, the knife will, there you go, the knife will suddenly feel that it moves freely. So I'm going to just go down with my bone folder, so that's going to lie really nicely and flat. Now, what I need to do now is to join two cards together. So this one opens normally. I want this one to open backwards, and then I will have made a three-fold card. Now I'm going to do the crease down there. Now, if you look at what's happening, if I put that inside, this is sticking out a fraction of an inch. So I'm going to take my trimmer, and this one that's going to go inside, I'm going to take a fraction of an inch off. I would rather take less off and have to do it again than take too much off. So let's try this one. And that is fitting really nicely inside. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to mark that circle again on the inside. So we're building up a three-fold card. So you can do this with wet glue. If you're starting out, wet glue is very forgiving and you can move your things around. When you're more confident, then your double-sided tape is fine because it's an instant grab. So I place that in there. Oops. And now I have a three-fold card, and I have my aperture marked on here. So here is my topper. Now that fitted in there, so I know that if I put that on there, it's going and drop it down through, it's going to be in exactly the right place. So I'll go with some wet glue. I like to show you all different sorts of adhesives. There's no one adhesive which is perfect for everything. So I'm going to make sure that the polar bear is sat upright. There we go. Close it, and it's perfectly aligned in there. If you need to jiggle it a bit, you've got time to do so. Now we're going to look at this. This was in two sections, but what I've done is I've put double-sided tape all the way around because I want it to stay as it is. Don't want to use them separately. And I'm going to put my window of acetate over the top. Let it go down. Always let it go down and don't try and hold different parts. You'll get creases in your acetate. So there's my window that's going to go onto there. Sided. There we go. It's fallen down the back. So now I can go round. Now, this time, because I want it very accurate, I'm only going to remove one piece of double-sided tape. I can keep that then up in the air while I make sure I've positioned everything correctly, and then let that one go down. Okay. Then it's easy for me to just get my fingers in and pull out the rest of the double-sided tape. So I know it's going to go down exactly right. There we go. So I just let it go down, so I've already checked it was the right placement. There, now I have the front of my card, the inside, and then I'm going to put a liner on the inside of the card. Now I know that it is 15 by 15, so I'm going to cut this 14.5. Just want a tiny white edge around it. You can measure your card because you don't have to use 6 by 6. Okay, so just measure as you go along. Now again, I'm going to put wet glue and this one's got snowflakes on it, which goes nicely. There, I'm going to check that it all works well. So there, a bit of static on there. There we go. It's gone. Okay, so I think we've got a little greeting. This was the sheet it was on, and go on, which says my special little bear. So this will be probably to one of the grandchildren. So I'm going to pop that onto there. I'm not going to put it on sticky fixers. Simple reason, it's inside the card and I don't want the card to bow. My special little bear, and I will probably put their name on the front of the card as well. So that's a beautiful card, a 3-fold card made from 2 cards. Okay, so that's the first sample. Right, here we're going to look at a different form of 3-fold card. And so I've got, starting off with my 2, these are 6 by 6 or 15 centimetre square. So I'm going to fold my outside one, fold my inside one, and we're going to check that when that goes inside, I can see that I've got a tiny bit that's sticking out. So I want to trim that off so it fits snugly inside. Right. Place that in there, level it off, and that's perfect. So I'm going to cover this one, so I'll make sure that I put a cross on that, and that makes me remember that that is the inside card. So I've got some paper here, which I'm going to cover the whole of the card. Now, what I like to do when I'm covering the whole of the card, to make sure I get it right, is I want to put glue onto here all the way around the outside and go across. It's not actually putting a lot of glue on there, but it is putting a little bit on all of the surfaces. Now, I'm not worried how it goes down particularly, but I want an overhang all the way round. That way, I can now get my craft knife, and using the card as a guide, I can use that to cut all the way around. It's not going to move because I've glued it. And let's take that away. I now have that perfectly covered all the way around. That's going to go inside there. Now I'm going to want to do, let's open that, this panel as well. Okay, so we're going to get another piece of paper and we're going to do a reverse bit, but what I'm going to do is to fit it into this crease, right? So we're going to cover the back piece all the way around, zigzag across. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it face down onto here, and I can now make sure that I'm going to cover the entire piece. I can move it about as much as I like, make sure it's right, and then face that down. Take my craft knife, and again using the edge of the card, I now have the outside covered and the inside. So now I'm going to fit that inside before I do anything else. So face it face down, get it in the right place, and then when you're ready, push that down. Okay, so there is my inside, outside, and nothing is affecting the creases the way we've done it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to make a decorative front on this one. If you've got die cuts and things, you could die cut or punch a fancy panel, but we're going to do it by hand. So I'm going to decide how far I want it to come across, and I think I'm just going to use the ruler and do a ruler's width down there. I'm going to measure 7.5 onto there, and I'm going to measure 7.5 onto there. I think that may be too much. I'm going to go to 5. Play around with your measurements and be prepared to change your mind partway through. I'm now going to join those lines up. And that is going to be the front of my card. So we're going to cut that off. When you're cutting to a point, then cut past. Okay. Come back to there. And then you'll always get a nice crisp point. So there's our card coming on. We're going to cover this, so don't worry too much about the little marks. We can come back to that later. Rubber there. Right, now we want to cover this bit. Now that could be a problem because I want to leave a small white gap to accentuate that. So take my paper here And I'm going to draw, sure that's into the crease. Here. So there is my panel. It's not finished yet. Cut straight on so you've got a nice sharp point. Now, I said that I wanted to leave a little white border. Because we know that that fits, if I pull it back a fraction, I will get exactly the right gap to mimic this shape. Okay, so the easiest way of doing that is again the wet glue, and we're going around the outside. Make sure that you get no flappy bits. Place it onto there, matched up, and then we're going to slide back. So I've made sure that I've got glue all the way to the edge of this point, because that's the bit that's going to take all the wear and tear. Cut off this bit that was hanging over, and now we've got a beautiful front, inside lined and inside there. Right, I've sorted out a set of toppers. These come in a set of at least 3 elements. So let's see what we've got. We've got the church, the biggest one. There. I've got an extra tree, and I've got a bridge. Normally these would all stack up, but I shall use them more frugally. Right, so I think I am going to leave that one, and I'm going to have it so it's breaking the line here. So this one is going on flat. I don't want it to move, and I don't want any glue coming over the edge. So I'm keeping my double-sided tape back a little bit from that edge. I'm going to place that on to there. Right, I've now got an extra church, I've got an extra bridge, and an extra tree. So I'm going to come with that so that I've got that one showing in there. Actually, I think I'm going to put that one inside. I like to be able to sort of work changing my mind. So that's going to go onto there. And this one I'm going to come down and have on there. So you need to think about what it looks like as a whole. Open it up, and we're going to have a hidden message in there. So I've got "with lots of love" left on my topper sheet. Now I need to know where this point comes to, because I want it as a hidden message. So what I can do here is just put my bone folder there, and I know then that that will be able to be hidden behind there. Okay. Excuse me. So I'm going to take off that little bit of pencil on there, tiny bit there, and there'll be a bit down the bottom. So that is our card. We've used one lot of decoupage, which is flowing through, and there's plenty of room to write inside. So that is another sample to go with this one of a 3-fold card. Right, here we have another version of two cards folded together. Again, I've used 6x6 or 15 centimetre square cards, and this is like a barn door card in that it opens out with the side wings, opens out with the top wings, and there is your message inside, which is Love Came Down at Christmas. So it stands up. I can't show you from the overhead, but it will stand on the shelf as like a box design and folds flat to go in your envelope like that. So let's have a look how we created that one. I have my 2 6x6 cards, and I have 3 designs here. I've got some wood because I wanted to make it look like a barn, and the nativity in the middle. So first thing I'm going to do is to take one of the cards, and I'm going to trim off again a fraction because this one is going to have to go inside. So I'm taking a fraction off the opposite side to the fold, but I'm also going to swivel it round, and I'm going to take a smidgen off this one too. It's rather stiff, just where it is the fold. Now you can see how little I've taken off. So we're going to take this one, and we're going to fold the outside bits to the fold line and burnish the fold. Turn it round, fold this one to meet it, and burnish that. So that is my inside one, and I'm going to mark it with a cross so I make sure that that is the one I want. Now we're going to take this one and we're going to do exactly the same. This is the one that hasn't been cut. So there we go. Fold this one, butt it up right against the other edge, hold it and crease it. Right? If you always burnish from the centre out, you're never going to get a crease that goes off. So we're going to take this one now. We're going to open that, and we want to fit this one inside there. So I'm going to use wet glue, the simple reason I want a little bit of wiggle room. So glue almost to the edges, because it will squish out a tiny bit. And that fits in the middle there. Now, make sure that it's comfortable when you fold the edges in and that it is lined up with top and bottom. There is my card, and we'll just give that a few minutes to go off. Right, this is my picture that I've done to go inside. I'm checking that it will fit nicely, and I could do with a tiny bit of here. For some reason it's not quite cut square, so I'm making sure. Right, it's still not comfortable folding down that way, so because we've taken a bit off both sides of this, you need to just spend a little bit of time getting it right. So that will fold nicely that way. That will fold nicely that way. So this picture goes on the inside. And fold, fold. Keep checking as you do it each time. Okay, the next thing that we've got two pieces exactly the same, but I want one to go on these flaps and one to go on these outside flaps. Now you've got to change the direction. So this one here, we want the wood going up and down. So I'm going to cut that in half, and it measures 14 and a half. So I'm going to do 7 1/4. And keeping it the same way, I'm going to pop those onto there. So bring that back in and going wet glue again. Keeping them on the same way so that the cut edge is going to exactly match the pattern. Don't worry about anything on this edge at the moment. Concentrate on getting this bit right. Slide that to there. Whatever picture I've got is now following straight across, and I can turn it this way, and if I've got anything hanging over, I can just snip it. Right, so that's that. There's my barn doors, which are going to open. Now this one, I want it going that way. So I'm going to go check the measurement. It's 14 and a half. So 7 1/4. And keep them exactly as you've cut them. So this one is going to go to there. Now this is where you do have to be very careful of anything that overhangs the crease there. Right, I'm going to let that go off for a second and deal with this one. I'm going to open it out and carefully check that nothing is interfering when it goes down with the crease. Okay. There is a tiny bit hanging over this edge. Right, this one should have gone off by now. And I'm just checking all the edges and they're fine. So there we have the barn doors that open. This one opens. You can always do the inside as well if you like, but that will hold that up and you'll be able to look into the stable. Okay, so we're going to have a decoration on the outside, and I've brought in a couple of angels. One's got the lantern to show the way, and the other one has got her proclamation. So stick those on there, and I'm going to have them just slightly at an angle. These were part of a decoupage. So there's my angels outside the barn. Open it out, and there is the nativity scene inside. Okay, so you can make it what you like. You could have a man's shed. It doesn't have to be Christmas, obviously. This could be a man's shed with lots of tools and things inside. It could be a lady's craft room. Okay. So let's bring in some of the other cards. These were the ones done with the barn door. Okay, so there is that one. This one, 2 pieces, get 2 cards interlocking and the front cut away. So there is that one. And the first one with the acetate window, again, 2 lots of cards interlaced, and it makes a beautiful card. Yes, it is for somebody that's special, because you'll take more decoration and more card to make it. But Christmas and things are a special time, and it's worth spending the extra effort doing them. Okay, so have fun. God bless you all.